quick video, not going to be long, but there's a term that goes on TikTok called plantain conversation or plantain convo. And usually this is referred to when people talk about things about like dating, 50-50, black women and wearing real hair. Should men split the bill? Should men pay all the bills at home? Dating dynamics. Anything that seems to be relatively trivial gets labeled as plantain conversation. It's basically like a funny term to like shoot down conversations. But I read this amazing article by a writer, and let me just try and find it for you guys. And she basically we're gonna read the article. She's gonna read the article. Let's go. So, plantain conversations and the rise of the plantain thinker. So I'm gonna just highlight some of the key phrases here. But if you guys are on TikTok or Instagram, you'll see this a lot where people say plantain conversation. And, you know, it's a funny way to just say this conversation is not really that important. It's been recycled. Can we move on? Blah, blah, blah. But what this lady has noticed, let me just give her her flowers. Her name's Shelley Patterson. What this lady has also mentioned is that by doing this, we're basically shutting down. We're shutting down the ability to have nuanced conversations about all the different things that our communities face. You know, like this is like, and we usually attribute it to just trivial matters, but it's not just trivial things. These are things that actually can affect our society, can affect our community. And one of the biggest issues, that we're seeing is this right here: anti-intellectualism, which is rife in our communities. And I don't know if this is just in the online space and if I'm in an echo chamber, but here's a prime example I'll give you. If I make a deep video discussing the issues around fatherless homes, that does not get as much views if I make a stupid video talking about splitting the bill 50-50, why men should pay the bill. There's a reason for that. But the issue around that is that because we have a lack of conversations around the deeper issues that affect us, the trivial matters get more views. If the trivial matters get more views, at the end of the day, people that are content creators, what are they going to do? They're going to make stuff that's more trivial so they can get more views. It's a natural thing that takes place, right? But what this planting conversation thing does is it dismisses and it shuts down conversations. And this is, I'm going to just read some of her points here, you know. So let me close this. So somewhere along the line, the term slid from humor into dismissal. It's become a shortcut for shutting down conversations that need care, nuance, and actual engagement. And that shift says a lot about how we relate to thinking itself. People who simply can't comprehend the subject matter are now minimizing its complexity so that they can cope. Let me read that again. Yeah, people who simply can't comprehend the subject matter are now minimizing its complexity so that they can cope. That's exactly what's happening. People now use planting conversation as a coping mechanism, a way to retreat from topics that reveal their discomfort, limitations, or lack of curiosity. Instead of saying, I don't understand this, or I haven't thought about this before, people flatten a whole conversation until they look pointless, even when they weren't. It's easier and safer to trivialize something than to admit you might be the one lacking depth. And I do think, and this is something that a lot of American writers and podcasters have been saying, that, you know, just across the board, that we are suffering with that anti-intellectualism across the board in how we engage with material and how we, you know, just in how we engage with a lot of actual stuff in general. So there's a bit more in here I want to read before I end this video as well. Okay, so this last bit right here is quite important. So this is why the rise of what I'm now calling plantain thinkers worries me. People whose intellectual waters run so shallow that everything looks surface level. A plantain thinker cannot see past the most immediate interpretation of a topic. So anything that requires depth becomes a plantain conversation. A shallow take can only recognize shallow parts of a discussion. If they cannot see the depth, then in their mind it does not exist. That's how plantain convo and it's not that deep end up as two sides of the same anti-intellectual coin. Dismissal becomes instinct, intellectual avoidance becomes culture, mislabeling becomes a big role here. And I'm saying all of this to say one thing. I understand that we want to have conversations about deeper topics, but even in the surface level topics, there is depth to be had. even in the surface level topics, there is depth to be had. And I think that that is one thing that we do struggle with as a community and as people. Anyway, this video was short. Shout out to the writer and the author. What's her name again? Sorry, apologies. Shelley Patterson. Big her up. Very important article. I think we should all take our time to understand and read this. I will put it in the description for you to read the full thing.